record. Okay. Okay, so welcome to our May edition of our Value Added 101 seminar series. We do this monthly and it is completely free via Zoom that you can keep an eye out on the topic through our monthly monthly newsletter if you haven't subscribed already. This month we have the honor of welcoming Allison Min. She's been a awesome mentor and guest speaker for a lot of our programming, and the topic will be grocery distribution. So hopefully a lot of you have some interest or good questions to ask during this session. And I'll quickly introduce Allie for you all. And let me see where that went. Oh man. I had the big prompt for you. So I actually met Allison back in San Francisco Bay Area when we were in different roles, but since then, Allison had taken on a diverse range of roles across startups on the brand side and also distribution. So over the past decade, Allison had navigated diverse range of organizations from startups to some of the largest American companies, building sales and
When she met who?
business development strategies from the ground up. As the former UNFI account manager and director of business development at Pint Size Hawaii, she had driven national distribution and created programs that has left a lasting impact on the companies she had worked with. Allison's also a former collegiate athlete and brings that same discipline, focus, and intention to her work. So this hour you'll see as we get started that we will focus on food entrepreneurs ready to scale to the next level in terms of getting your product to the masses through distribution as a means and tool. And Allison will help us demystify the world of grocery distribution and understanding how distributors work, what to look for, and navigating pricing, promotions, and placement, etc. topics. I'll let you take it away, Allison.
Sweet. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this morning right after Memorial Day. Thank you, Wahiawa Value Added Product Development Center, for having me. You guys are an amazing team, so I appreciate you guys extending a hand for letting me participate in your workshops. I just want to do some quick housekeeping things. The way I like to do the Zoom workshops, I like to make sure everyone's on mute if can, and then when we'll pop in and out of questions potentially. We'll try to save some time at the very end for Q&A. But if we run out of time, because we're going to cover a lot of big topics, just keep them in the chat or send them to the Wahiawa team on the call, and then we'll make sure to get back to you. So stay engaged, keep the questions coming, but we might not get to them to the end, and I'll try to answer them as we go along to stay, we don't have to backtrack. So if you have questions as we're covering each slide, go ahead and pop them in the chat. We'll try to answer them as we go. And then if we run out of time for Q&A, we'll make sure everyone's questions get answered. And then if you guys are all handy with Zoom, if I may ask you to do the react, like a thumbs up or comment something, just so I know that I'm engaging and, I'm not I'm not losing you guys or going too high level. So just hopefully it can be an engaging, fun hour, and we're going to cover a lot. So in working with the team at Wahiawa, I worked with the team on a couple of different projects. We helped get a couple previous cohort get ready for a trade show in January. I also helped contribute to the Ainatimakeke cohort this spring and help them prepare for sales and marketing tools for meetings with potential buyers. And in discussions with the center about today, we wanted to do a general overview of what grocery distribution is. And I've over half of my decade of experience is spent in grocery distribution. And the goal for making this more of a general overview is that This is a big topic, so we might not be able to go deep on each thing and on each topic, but it'll give you this general sense of, when you have questions or when you're interested in pursuing distribution, you at least have a language to speak, and it'll give you a leg up on, a leg up in those conversations when you show up prepared. Um, so with that, like Haley said, I've had a decade of experience. I played college sports. I started out my career in like a bootstrap startup for 5 years. Helped the brand get from regional distribution to national distribution in brick and mortar chains like Target, Home Goods, all kinds of those stores we know and love. And moved on from that to work with UNFI, the largest national grocery distribution company in North America. And then most recently for a local distributor here in Hawaii. So I can understand where a lot of the food founders are coming from. I've been in your shoes from the brand perspective, and then also on the decision-making side in distribution. And worked with a lot of grocery store chains and understand what the grocery buyers want and want to have in their stores and the discussions to have with them. So with that, today we're going to talk about what grocery distribution is, how distribution works, why it's valuable to your business in ways it can be challenging, different types of distributors, how to be strategic in finding the right distributors for your business, and how to prepare for initial meetings with potential partners to discuss pricing, promotions, and execution. We're going to also discuss unique challenges and opportunities to consider for Hawaii-based companies. It's going to be an action-packed hour. Awesome. Okay. So distribution, what is it? Basically, it's all these trucks you see on the road, especially if they have these side refrigerator doors. This means it's carrying something perishable. So basically, distribution is the process of moving products from manufacturers or producers to retailers and consumers. It's basically when you walk a grocery store, usually a distributor is the one who brings all that food to that store. In the CPG industry, this involves managing purchasing, inventory, transportation, warehousing, and delivering product across multiple channels to ensure product availability when and where customers need it. So distributors have this responsibility where when you work with them, the brand and the distributor are responsible for working together on purchasing. We can talk a little bit more about that as we go along, but they're responsible for purchasing your product, keeping inventory in stock so they don't run out of your product, and then transporting it to and from grocery stores, and then warehousing it in a way and storing it at a way that supports the end product. So it's storing it at temperature state if your product is like perishable or frozen, or if it has like a delicate packaging and that they're storing it in a way that the packaging doesn't get damaged. Things like that are what they're responsible for. Okay. So in continuing on that, just a little bit deeper, they're responsible for delivering your product to the customers at the right location, at the right time, and in the right condition. And this is a very imperfect process. They most often do not get it always right, but each distributor's goal is to try to get this as right as possible. And just a little bit deeper here, like their main parts, logistics and warehousing, this is like the meat of it. This is what they should be best at, is ordering, storing, shipping them, delivering them on time. They also can help you with sales and marketing. They can help you get into stores and support your product through promotions and displays. They're typically the most high touch with retailers and customers, so they are familiar with how different stores and different chains like to run their business. So they can be a great strategic partner with you on how you want to perform your sale, or how you want to grow your sales and how you want to market your product. They also can help you in that layer with those customer relationships. So they know their customers very well, and they can help you connect with their customers, and that partnership that you have with your distributor, when you go about it the right way, or you go about it in a deep way where you're actually creating a true team partnership, I can be very strong in working with your customers. They can also help you with channel management. This is kind of like an industry term. Channels can be different types of stores. It could be like a grocery store. It could be a C store, a convenience store. It could be, like an ABC store or a 7-Eleven or a Foodland. Those are different types of channels, different types of customers will go in there. And different distributors specialize in certain channels, and some do all of them. So just keep that in mind. When we say channel, it means like different ways of selling in different stores. Okay, so a distribution network. So zooming out, how does it work? A distribution network is a complex system of suppliers, which is hopefully a lot of you, brands, warehouses, logistic providers, and retailers that work together to move products through a supply chain. So if you look at the picture on the bottom with folks stocking and storing products, like this is what a warehouse looks like. I'm sure you guys know this. But this is a team of people getting your product in and stocked and stored and delivered. So it can be very complex. It's very high touch. And the end goal is to get your product on a shelf. So basically this is that infrastructure that helps when you're not distributing your product. This is the network and the system that gets the product where it needs to be. Okay. How's everybody doing? Good. Okay. All right. So this is like a rudimentary visual of what that looks like. So hopefully this is you or someone you know or work with, and you're here to learn about how to get them in distribution. And normally or typically you could be skipping distribution altogether. You're going straight to the buyer or straight to the consumer. You're selling online, you're going to a farmer's market, or you're dropping and delivering to your customers here on island. When you get to the stage of growth and you're ready to offload that responsibility to a distributor partner, you add this layer in to where you're working with the distributor to get your products to buyers and consumers. That makes sense. And it doesn't necessarily, we'll get into this in the different types of distribution, but this can look like Shopify, or it can look like some other platform that gets your products to the consumers. As a bonus point, I added in like brokers here. This is a whole another topic for another day. But with this network, you have other processes in CPG, grocery industry. Like there's layers that can support this complexity, and brokers can kind of bridge the gap between you, distributors, and buyers. And as you grow, that's something just to keep in mind. Okay. So distribution 101, again, continuing with the basics of the overview of this network. So why it can be valuable to your business and potential challenges. So first and foremost, scale. Scale, and then entering relationships, customer relationships, and entering new markets. And then sales, growth, and marketing, specifically pricing, promotions, and placement management. And so with scale, the opportunity is, partnering with a distributor can dramatically increase your brand's reach and growth. That should be like the ultimate goal. The challenge is that it also can strain your operations. It can challenge you to grow faster than maybe you're ready. It can also be a challenge to keep up with the order volume and consistency. So with that scale, it might demand more of you, or to improve operations to allow you more time to like make more product or package more product. Distributors also have strong retail ties and in-store teams to help your presence and open new markets. Or to grow your presence and open new markets. So working with the distributor, not only can it grow your scale, but they also have these strong relationships. So they can kind of represent you in a way and make sure your product looks nice on shelf. It can make sure it gets to the stores on time. It can, it helps while you expand and grow so much, they can kind of manage your product for you. They also, and also challenge with that, managing a distributor relationship adds complexity and takes consistent time and effort. So just like any relationship, it just takes time and effort and management. You do have to be connected and not just, ship your product to a distributor and be like, okay, cool, they've got it all handled. Like, you still need to have a pulse on your business no matter what, and make sure that your product is represented in the way you want it to be. So it just takes extra time and some effort to manage that and curate that. And then with that, distributors can replicate but not replace your customer relationships. So that's best practices. And, in my experience, seeing many brands grow to all levels of scale, the best ones are very hands-on, and they want to build that relationship at least at first. So like, they're meeting with the distributor once a year, or they're meeting with new customers, maybe that first initial meeting themselves, so they can kind of be the first person. You want to be the first person they think of, a buyer or distributor thinks about when they're working with your brand. Like, if Wahiwa was a brand, I'd be like, oh, Haley is Wahiwa. I can picture her. She's involved. We're in relationship, and she's who I think about, not just the facility in general. I know her. I know the brand. So it's a different feeling. And it helps keep your brand top of mind when you're engaged and your product's engaged. They're more engaged with you, as opposed to the opposite. And if you're not engaged, maybe they'll not, focus on you as much. So just keep in mind, even though these are ways to scale and grow, it's always important, to be on top of your product and represent it first and foremost. All right. So sales, growth, and marketing management, and specifically pricing, promotions, and placement. So distributors can drive growth through pricing, ads, promotions, and displays, especially when goals are aligned. So if you're working with a distributor and you're saying, my product is curated towards like working moms, I want to really promote during back to school, or I want to really have a display during spring break, or some type of theme throughout the year, that you can prepare for that with the distributor, and they can help execute that for you. And then they also can get your product price at a competitive level. They'll want you to perform well and sell well, so they can work with you on like where your product competes on shelf, and they can try to help mitigate, the challenges of like pricing and like where do you fit best. Maybe your product can be placed a little bit higher in one store versus another store because that clientele is different. Like, they can help you manage that. And thanks, TJ. And then challenges of this, costs like fees and markups can strain margins and may not match your strategy. So distributors are an added cost. They are an added fee, and we will discuss that later. But that extra cost for you might be straining. So it may be important. Like, if you're ready and have really healthy margins and you're able to grow sooner, like pretty fast, then that might not be as an issue for some founders. If you're a founder that's really strapped and your margins are pretty tight, like, it might be best to grow with a distributor and start small. We can talk about those strategies later too. That's an added challenge. Jenny had a good question. Their costs include the promotion and ads. We'll get into that later in a slide. And then a tip, from, in my experience, the brands that I loved working with the most when I was at a decision-making level and working in a distributor was aligning early on goals and meet regularly to review performance. So this could be like quarterly or twice a year, saying, hey, like, what are your goals this year? Do you want to launch a new flavor? Do you want to get into more stores? Or do you want to add an extra product line? Like, what's your goal this year or this quarter, and how can we partner together to do that? And then we're going to meet to see how do we both do on that goal. It's like, help me help you get to where you want to be. Moving on. Okay. Different types of distribution. So here's some different types from left to right. It's, I guess you would say, the biggest volume. So we call this broad line distribution over here. The scope is national. This is usually your larger distributors down here. that have major networks. Their warehouses look like this, their trucks look like this. Inside this warehouse are like 5,000 products at least. And they can get your products to major chains. They also handle multiple types of products. So it could be conventional, natural, or fresh. Conventional is like Tide and like Kellogg's and Gen Mills, or the basic brands we all grew up with. And then natural could be your more organic brands, like your kind of whole food stores on the mainland. There's like Sprouts and different natural chains, or like Down to Earth here. And then fresh. So fresh is like your perimeter store. So and then these distributors can handle all different types of environments in the store. They can handle the inner part, the grocery part, like where you're shopping in the aisle, and they can handle the perimeter. So like the dairy, the yogurt, the bakery, the meat, the deli, and even the produce and the floral. So these are just have this wide network of operations. So when you get into a larger distributor, you get a big splash. Like you can get into a lot of stores, but they also are managing thousands and thousands of products. And then DSD scope is regional. So DSD stands for direct store delivery. Their products are delivered directly to the store. So in comparison to Broadline, these trucks are so big, they might be just dropping off like a big pallet of product in the back of the store. You might not ever see it. And DSDs, sometimes they can come in with a dolly, with your boxes on a dolly, and they can walk through the front door, or they can walk into the store and they're stocking your product on the shelf like you see in the picture. They can be more hands-on. They can manage the order process, stock the shelves, and then merchandise the product. Not only just stocking the product, but they're like making it look nice, like making sure you're in a good spot on the shelf. You're not on the bottom like collecting dust. You're like mid-level in a good competitive presence. And then some DSDs, in comparison to Broadline, they'll specialize in certain areas of the store. So some DSD distributors, they only focus on like chips, because chips are like very delicate and they can smash or whatever. So they only focus on chips. I think in Hawaii, Pepsi has a Lay's distributor here, and their only job is to stock chips and snacks. Some are, more perishable items like eggs and dairy and bread, things with short shelf life, or frozen things that you have to have a very special like warehouse to store frozen product, and special trucks to ship frozen products. So some distributors just might focus on this one area in the store, compared to Broadline, where it's like they can ship the whole store in one truck. And then D2C, I added these last two in here because some of you might be playing in this already. So D2C, your scope is technically national. You can ship anywhere. You're selling from your website. And you can use online platforms or your brand website. And it's really great for like niche, premium, emerging brands. You can grow a solid brand from your website and use those numbers, like use your numbers on your website or your website sales or direct to consumer sales. You could say, hey, I'm selling these top 3 flavors. I'm selling these top 3 flavors at this velocity per month. Like, these are my orders per month. That's still a valid metric. And then there's also some of these tools. I added RangeMe and Faire, Faire. These are 2 tools that I know a lot of grocery retailers use. The buyers use to try to get, like, maybe these Broadline distributors or the DSD distributors, like, they carry a good amount of product, but like maybe they're not finding people like you. They're not finding these like niche, really premium, like unique products, because they're not ready for distribution yet. So these types of websites like Faire and RangeMe, it can help bring buyers to you, and then you work with them, you ship directly to their store as well. So they're not my expertise, but they're there for you. If that sounds like something you are interested in, you can kind of put a pin in that and look it up for later. Those are options for you. If DSD and Broadline distribution are like, well, it sounds like a lot, there's still ways for you to reach grocery retailers. And then self-explanatory, I guess, as well. Yourself, if you're limited, you have, but you also have the ability to go deep. So you're regional. You're the one delivering the brand, you're the one delivering the product, merchandising it. I think this is a great way to learn. I think it's a great way to learn like how your product performs on shelf, how your pricing performs, get to meet people, ask questions. I know when I was self-distributing product for the startup I worked for, I got to know the buyer so well. And I would ask them, like, are we doing well this week? What do we have an upcoming promotion coming up? Like, well, how can I be a part of a local event you have? And they just really appreciated it. And I was able to, like wiggle in a good spot on shelf. If I kept showing up and bothering them enough, they would give me a good spot in the store. So I think self-distribution is fantastic. It's just labor intensive and you might be like, yeah, I've been doing this for a while and I'm ready for another option. And that's why we're here. Okay. So different strategies in finding a distribution partner. So finding the best match for your business stage. Let me see. Current stage and capacity. So just knowing yourself and knowing your business, like, is this something you are ready for now, or is it something you're building towards later? If it's too much of an added complexity, or you're ready to like pursue some of the broadline distributors, let me go back. Some of these companies have like programs for beginning stage founders to right here. Some of these companies have like incubator groups that you can join and learn about how to work with them, and it's low risk and you can learn from there. But if that's where your capacity is, excuse me, if that's where your capacity is at and you just want to keep learning and preparing for that, that's great. If you're really ready for distribution and you're like self-distributing, or you're like have a couple of store requests here, like if Foodland came to your booth at like Made in Hawaii or something, and they're like, hey, like we want to put you in 6 Foodland farms, like if that's something that you're excited about, DSD or Broadline might be a good fit for you. Another strategy in finding a distribution partner. So in addition to like your current capacity, that you want to find a distributor that has the specialty and strengths that align with your brand. So you don't want to look for like a frozen distributor that you want to be in the caddies at checkout at the grocery store. Like I want to be at self checkout. Like I'm a fast moving item. Like you want to find someone who maybe works in confection, like candy or like these high turn items. So knowing what kind of specialty or where you want to be in the store really can help you find the right distributor partner. So think about the places where your product sells best, or comparing product that you kind of maybe compete with or want to be like, and where are they at in the store and who's distributing them. You can walk a store and look at different products and you can ask. Sometimes they're on the tag. You can see like they'll have like a under their barcode, it'll show you who's distributing the product, or there's a code. And you can ask the buyer like, oh, hey, like where is this product coming from? Is it coming from UNFI or a local distributor? And I think usually when I ask, they tell me, but you can also ask your current customers if you're talking with like a Foodland or Tamura's. You can also ask them like, hey, who do you work with? Who's a great distributor you recommend? Are they on time? Do they have great fulfillment? Do they merchandise? Ask those questions. I used to do that all the time. It was so helpful to ask the buyer what works best for them. And the right distributor will also collaborate on ways to get your product on shelf and keep it there. So coming up with a good strategy, checking all those boxes above and seeing, I'm a really fast turning item. I'm a soap or like a balm or a gifting item. Are you able to like stock and merchandise these stores like every other day or every week? So knowing that can help hold the distributor accountable to like what your expectations are. So also a strategy is needs and goals. So being clear on what services and support is needed from a distributor. So if you like what I just mentioned, if you're needing someone to really be delicate with your products, or if it's like at a temperature state, or a short shelf life, making sure that they can support that. If you need help with sales and promotions and things like that, you feel like I need help with this. Like, are you guys able to help support me, ask for what you need and see if they're able to partner with you on that. I also think it's a great goal. We talked about earlier timelines and check-ins, like, hey, in 6 months I want to be in 6 foodlands or 10 times or all the Don Quixotes. Like, you can set those parameters with them and try to hold them accountable and hold yourself accountable. And at the same time, if those don't align, like, the distributor might be like, hey, like, we might not be the best fit for you. Like, our guys kind of like stock the shelf and merchandise, and then they're out of there. They're not curating relationships for you. So you might need to find a distributor that's more like high touch and involved with the store. So that's also an option too. Like, they might say like, no, we're not the right fit, and you can keep going and interview as many distributors as you need to find the right one. And then preparedness and due diligence. So I think this is really important, and it's very helpful on the other side of the table. So helping, if you're meeting with buyers or distributors for the first time, helping them understand your brand in terms of numbers. It's not necessarily a judgment on performance. It also just helps them understand, like, operationally, like, for example, knowing your numbers and growth potential. If you are selling at a farmer's market or a couple of boutique stores and you say, hey, like, I have 3 products and I am selling, 10 of these flavors per boutique per week, like, and you add up those numbers, it's helpful for the distributor to go, okay, like, they move pretty well. Or if you're like, I'm selling a ton of product, or the product movement is high end and really slow, in the distributor's mind, they're like, okay, I need to put them in a certain area of the warehouse that's very fast moving and easy to access. If it's maybe a high premium item that doesn't sell as fast but still has great sales performance and margins, they might put you in an area of their warehouse that's like, okay, it doesn't move as fast, and that's okay. We just need to move them to an area of the warehouse that is better fit for their, like, velocity, how fast they move for their operations. So it's not necessarily, if your numbers are small to begin with, it's not necessarily a bad thing to, like, not share it. I think it's helpful to know your numbers and show that you're really knowledgeable of how your products perform, and working with the distributor to set expectations up front. I also think it's good to know, even for a marketing or promotional plan, you don't need to be like, oh, I want to be 20% off on shelf during Mother's Day or something. You don't have to know that much yet, but you could say, I sell really well in the tourist time in the summer, or I sell really well like back to school, or I sell really well on gifting occasions like Mother's Day or Easter or Father's Day. Just knowing when you sell the best is really helpful. And then just that strong partnership, it helps the buyer or the distributor really, like, picture what it's like to work with you and picture how your product is performing. They work for so many brands and products, they just might not be educated, and it's your job to educate them on your business. Okay. So in that, and that's a good segue into preparing for initial meetings with potential partners. We wanted to talk about this because I think it's helpful to know, like, if this is something you want to work for in the future, just to say, okay, these are some of this like loose checklists I need to meet. So for example, setting a clear goal and agenda for the meeting. You could say, hey, my goal is to get into Foodland or ABC or my goal is to get into Tamura's or Don Quixote or Times. This is our goal, and, like, this is the agenda for the meeting is to help have you partner with us to get there. Or say, like, our goal is to like, setting whatever goal you have for your brand, or if you're just looking for a distributor partner, like, hey, our goal is to just look for a distributor partner. By the end of this year, we're ramping up operations. I have new machinery coming in. I started working in the Wahiwa kitchen. I'm killing it operationally, and I'm ready to grow. Like, when I'm ready for that stage, how can I best work with you? You don't have to have this perfect plan and, like, all your numbers ready, but you can also be like, hey, this is kind of where I'm at. Like, this is where I want to be. How can we work with you in the future? And I think that's also a great way to approach a meeting as well. So I also think it's really important to research the distributor and learn about the business. Like go to their website and see like what products do they currently sell? Do they carry a lot of local brands, or are they carrying a lot of mainland brands? Like I don't know if they'll be able to take the best care of me, like in or in the spot of the store that I want. But or uh see what what customers they service. So are they distributing to the customers I want? Do they sell to 7-Eleven, or do they sell to the hotels, the boutique hotels? And also what services on their website do they say that they offer? Um, Also your concise brand or founder story. If you did Identity McKickey, I'm sure you're well versed in this and can crush that. So just your brand story and how it started. I think that's helpful for distributors and buyers to know just a little bit more about you and how important you are and how important your product is and why it matters. Um, like we discussed your current business, just an outline, like how many customers you serve and which ones, some of your sales numbers, like how much do your products move each week. You could do an average, like over a period of time, because seasons fluctuate, like tourism fluctuates. So you could say over the last 26 weeks or the last 2 quarters, this is what I sold, and these are the types of customers I sell in. Also specs and order information. So we say specs, it's short for product specifications. So it's short for like how many cases, how many units per case do you carry? Like if a distributor wants to buy from you, like what does that look like? What's the minimum order quantity? What's the MOQ? Like, do you have to order 100 items per order? What does that look like? So having that together on a sell sheet, if you went to my previous workshop, you have that ready, hopefully. And then you can speak to like all of those details. That's really important for them. All right. Ooh, I got a little frozen. Sorry about that. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah, okay. I'm a little frozen on my end, so I'll just keep speaking to this. So this is a big meaty part of the discussion and something I still want to create like a general overview for this. Pricing structures and fees are very confusing and with working with distributors for the first time. And I don't want you to feel like that. I reached out to a couple of friends in my network, other DSC distributors, and asking them, when you're working with early stage founders, like what's the most confusing part of pricing and working with a distributor that they have the hardest time with? And so we came up with some simple structures. It might be a little high level right now, for just to help you understand like what to expect and how to prepare for those conversations. So a general overview for pricing, the structure of it, the margins, fees, and marketing trade spend. Marketing trade spend is, being discounted on shelf. It's also like an ad fee, sometimes like Down to Earth or Foodland. If you want to be in an ad, I don't think Foodland does ads anymore, but if you wanted to be in an ad, they say, hey, it's $100 to have your picture on our ad. That's something you need to budget for. And so pricing should be viewed in a perspective of layers and differentiated by national and regional distribution. So if you can picture those different types of distributors we talked about, the bigger broadline ones, they have so many brands that they generalize their pricing. So they could have, they're going to have a different structure compared to a regional distributor, a DSC distributor. And all distributors work in different ways and formats, and there's some essential layers of pricing to keep in mind. Chris, I see your question. I'll get to that in a minute. So if you have your cost of goods sold, and then if you're selling to a retailer right now and you have your cost of goods sold, and then you have your wholesale price, and then the retailer has your retail price. So the retailer makes their margin off of your wholesale and sets a price. So when you add a distributor in there, it can complicate your margin. So if you're adding on like a distributor fee, like they also need to make money too. So they have a certain percentage that they add on to, and that's basically their exchange of distributing your product for you. They have a distributor price and then they sell your wholesale price to the retailer, and you have to kind of figure out what that budget is so you still take home a healthy margin. I know that sounds a little confusing, but and then some distributors, they have extra fees for things. So like larger distributors, if they can't really manage your product spoilage, they call it shrink. They might just add on a fee like to every invoice and say, just in case your product goes bad, like I'm taking a certain percent or a certain fee. There's a lot of different fees involved. It's not all of them do it, but that's probably the most complex part about working with a broadline distributor. And then a DSD distributor, they might say, hey, if you ship us a product or you deliver your product to us to our warehouse and it's like all damaged, we're gonna bill you back for that case because we can't even sell it. We have to deal with discarding it. So some of those fees might come up, and they're just conversations you have, like what are your fees, like what can I expect from working with you. And then on top of that, there's promotion. So if you want to promote, keeping in mind, like if you want to be have a discount in the store, or have a price tag be like 20% off or 15% off, or buy two get one free, those are marketing trade spend funds that you have to budget and prepare for those meetings if you want to promote your product. And then terms, there's also terms. So I'm sure you guys already deal with this with your customers. But the terms are important with distributors too. Like when I worked for a distributor, we had to negotiate terms because our receiving was a lot longer. Like the shipping took a lot longer. So I wasn't even getting the product within 30 days. It took like 30 days to receive it. So I can't bill you for something I haven't received yet. So we would extend it to like from net 30 to net 45. So those are a little in the weeds, but those are some examples of details of pricing and structures that you need to be aware of. And then obviously why this matters is like understanding the layers, or like at least what to expect, can help you set prices that are realistic and profitable. And then planning for the fees and promotions protects your margin as you grow. Okay, Chris and Jenny have a question. So are your distributor and retailer cuts calculated as a percentage of retail price or COGS? It's a percentage of the retail, Chris. And then Janae, what is considered a quote healthy margin for the business owner after those fees are taken out? It's a good question, Janae. It's so different for each founder. Like some products have really tight margins, they don't promote. They're like, we're a premium item and we don't promote, or we keep our pricing whole. We don't dip and we don't promote. Because you have like a premium, like tight margin. Some have really low costs and they don't have to pay for like their raw materials, and they have a really flexible margin. I dealt with that when I was at a startup. We had like a cereal product and we made like a couple cents per box. I mean, it was really tight compared to our other products. We had, maybe 11 to 17% margin on certain products. So we ended up phasing out that, and keep focusing on phasing out the lower margin product and focusing on the larger margin product. So it just depends on the business and what kind of product you have, and if it's a premium item or a lower price item, or a value item. So it differentiates for your business. I wish I had like a perfect answer. Some helpful feedback in the chat too. Okay. And then we're getting towards the end, so we are going to have some time to open up some questions if needed. But I wanted to add in this last slide just about unique challenges and opportunities to consider for Hawaii-based companies. I'm well aware of how challenging it is to have a food brand in Hawaii. I mean, you guys all have amazing products and work really hard to like get get them to market. There's limitations here in terms of availability of raw materials and manufacturing. And I know in the future it won't always be like that. So I just wanted to talk about, although there are some challenges, there also are some great opportunities for Hawaii products. I mean, we see it at a lot of the trade shows. There's full Hawaii pavilions just of Hawaii-based brands. The last cohort that went to Fancy Food Show had great feedback. Like, there's a lot of great opportunity for Hawaii companies. And in terms of distribution, we're going to talk about some of the challenges and opportunities. So a challenge within Hawaii is that there's limited capacity and pricing experiences for early stage brands. So what I mean by this is that the pricing in Hawaii is already high for everything. So that adding on distribution to that might be really expensive, and it's something to navigate. And then inter-island logistics can be costly and complex. Some distributors in Hawaii, they touch all islands. They all gather product on Oahu and they ship it out to Maui or Kauai or Big Island. And some ports like Maui and Kona, I think it's Kona or Hilo or both, they can receive products direct from mainland too. So some are straight from Oahu too. So there's some distributors here can access all islands for you. So that's actually really exciting. If you're focusing like on just growing Oahu first and getting Oahu really strong, and you're like, I'm ready for Maui, or I'm ready for Kona, or wherever you want to be, like you can look for a distributor that ships product there and has trucks on all islands. And there are a few that you can research and look up depending on what product you have after you did all the steps leading up to this slide. And then for the mainland expansion is really exciting. You can take the time to find the right partners. And what I mean by this too is, in terms of being Hawaii based, it's shipping your product to the mainland, not being on the mainland and expanding there yet. So if there are ways for you to ship product from here to the mainland, and there's partners for that. There's freight forwarders. I think Honolulu Freight is one of them, or Aloha Freight used to help us get product to and from the West Coast ports. So there are ways for you to reach key retailers if you're ready for that from Hawaii. But it's just a challenge to find the right partners. I mean, you guys are all busy, but it takes some time to research that. And then there's high freight costs and larger lead times. So it takes about 5 days on water to get product to the mainland. So if your product has a short shelf life, that might not be a great option. Might have to look into like air freight or something if you have a short shelf life, which might be really expensive. And then in addition to that, you might have to adapt your packaging to the supply chain. So if you're a delicate product, you might have to figure out how to put extra padding in your case pack. So if you're in a huge container with lots of products, your product doesn't get smashed or doesn't get damaged. So things like that are something to consider. And then opportunities within Hawaii. So there is a strong local DSD network across islands. There's distributors that specialize in candy and dairy and frozen products and drinks and like more premium items. So there's many distributors here that can specialize in something for you. And then retailers and shoppers value local products, so as they should. So it's a great opportunity to say, shoppers are looking for me in your stores, whether it's local or whether it's tourists. I'm a Hawaii-made product. I'm a Hawaii-based founder. I should be in your store, and they're most likely inclined to want to get your product in store. And you have, since you're here, you have easier access to store level decision makers. You can go, if you pursue a distributor, you can also go to the stores and you can see the products and talk to the stores. So that's an advantage you have that you might not know as an advantage. It's great to be here and be able to go grow relationships with the store decision makers. Opportunities for mainland expansion. Like I mentioned, freight forwarders can simplify shipping for you. They might go from Honolulu to Long Beach and get you into the LA stores. They might go from Honolulu to Asia. They might go from Honolulu to Seattle or Oakland or Portland and get into some local chains on the West Coast. You could do, there's so many you could look into and try to, if that's something you want to grow into someday. Um, Mainland retailers are also seeking unique island inspired products. It's very, I guess, um, on trend, I would say. And I don't think it's a trend that's going away, but people are interested in interesting flavors and interesting stories, and people love Hawaii as they should. So I think it's a ripe opportunity for Hawaii founders to get in front of mainland companies, if that's an opportunity you want to pursue. Um, and then you guys obviously stand out with cultural authenticity, and Hawaii's a special place, special melting pot of many flavors. So I think it's your products and brands or your relationships here are very valuable, and Hawaii people based on the mainland are probably would love to see your products in their local stores. So although there's challenges and opportunities, I just want to provide a little light of hope. Like, it's been done. There's brands that have started here and grown the mainland, and vice versa. So there's always a path if that's the path you want to pursue. Um, and that's all I have today. I just want to say thank you all. And I think Haley and Chris suggested I put in some footnotes here. If some of this was a lot for you in the beginning, you're ready and you want to go a little bit deeper, I'm happy to do that with you. I do consult with a couple of brands here, and I focus on retail strategy, regional market launches. Like, if you are growing on Oahu, or you want to grow in other regional areas, that's one of my skill sets. Distribution and sales, category management and positioning, like, where do you fit within a category and how can you strategically present yourself to perform well in that category. Category meaning, like, are you a salt product? There's so many different salts. Do you want to be in the cooking salts, or do you want to be in the salt section with all the ingredients like in the store, or do you want to be by the meat? Do you want to be by the meat section and put your meat in or a sauce by the meat section in the store? Like, those are different kind of strategies we can talk about. And then retailer and buyer outreach, we can help you research and find the best retailers that you want to be in, and see how do you reach those buyers, and how do you approach that, and prepare for those meetings. And then buttoning it all together, like your go-to-market strategy. How do you get ready for that? So, all right.
And please feel free to reach out to Ali directly. Here's her email, and we will follow up with this recording. It will be posted to our YouTube channel as always. Thank you so much, Allison, for that super informative presentation. We do have a few questions from Jin in the chat. And I believe Jin is the owner of Honu Bakery. So feel free to unmute yourself, or I can repeat the question, Jin.
Yeah, hello, hey everyone. My name is Jin from Honu Bakery. I had just a couple question, and thank you, Allison, because we were actually looking to wholesale our turtle breads. So it's been super helpful. So thank you, first of all. Some of the questions I had was, are there like specific expectation around like shelf life? Because we're a bakery, obviously, and right now at our retail store we do bake every day, and then we normally don't sell our turtle breads after 2 days just to keep it fresh, right? Um, so if there is, how can we work with others to improve our shelf life and etc.?
Hmm. That's a great question, especially because you're a baked product. You want the product delivered to the store to be at its freshest too.
Right.
So there's a couple of ways that come to mind that you can approach that. One would be to use, like, if you guys have it, do you guys have like a use case? Like, are you currently doing something similar to that? Like, are you selling to someone and just self-delivering it?
So we have a couple so we also do like cakes as well, a lot of cakes, like dessert cakes. So we have a couple inquiries from like cafes, like local cafes. But cakes last long, so they're not really an issue. It's just our our signature bread is turtle bread, and that's what we want to wholesale to other stores. And we haven't had any inquiries about that yet.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. So I some of the strategies you can do with distributors or talk, at least open up the discussion is there are a few great distributors. I don't have them off the top of my head right now because I have my screen presenting to look it up, but there are some local distributors that specialize in bread,
Okay.
like all and bread rolls. There's so to big Hawaii has so many breads and baked goods, and there are local distributors that specialize in that. So you could also ask them if they have, like, do you guys, I'm sure they work with brands that have short shelf life, and
Mm,
maybe it's just coordinating pickup. Like, hey, I bake these fresh like every day or a certain time of
mm,
day. Like, can you guys pick up like
mm,
at 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning when they're baked fresh or whatever
mm,
time they're ready? You could
mm.
also coordinate that pickup so it's fresh, and then or work with them on timing the pickup and timing the delivery.
Okay.
That's a strategy I've seen with certain bakeries, or even during certain peak times of year where it's selling more, like holidays
Mhm.
or something. So you could ask them if they have certain qualifications. Like, hey, is it a non-starter if like we have a certain shelf life? You could look up if they have a similar product to yours, if they're doing that already,
Mhm.
and then you could potentially coordinate that pickup and make sure you're not, if it's a short shelf life, make sure that you're not overselling and underselling your product. Like if you're giving them
Right.
too much product and then it's going bad. So it's a little bit of an art and a science of like, I think we'll sell, X amount per weekend, and then you can try to time out how much you're making more
Mhm.
specific to that cycle. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. Because that's kind of what we do internally, right? At each of our retail store. Because we change our production amount like almost every 2 months, just kind of based on the sales. So we try to avoid a lot of waste. And I'm guessing we have to do the same once, we wholesale. Um, Okay, thank you. And then my follow-up question was, once we start wholesaling, obviously we gotta improve on packaging and whatnot. So would distributors also help with that? Or
That's a
do we
good
have
question.
yeah.
From my experience, most distributors will expect you to have that buttoned up. So because they're so focused on getting your product delivered that they're, like, have it ready for me to deliver, and like that's their role. Like they try to focus. Um, but some that are maybe larger on island, like if it's staying to the specific example of bread, like maybe they do have a facility where you can package it. I'm not sure. Um, and I think Patricia in the chat mentioned that there was a webinar on packaging and extending shelf life of your product. So some resources on that too.
Oh, cool.
But
Okay.
but specifically for the distributor, I would lean towards maybe no, and lean on getting that process cleaned up so you can just focus on them picking up the product and shipping it out.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. And then my last one is we talked a little bit about, potentially there being a waste. What is the expectation on that with the distributors? Like, would we have to compensate for that, or is that part of like how the contract's done?
I think it's part of how the contract's done. I worked with mainly products that had like a very long shelf life, like
Gotcha.
18
Okay.
months.
Yeah.
So so I it's not my expertise, but I would say if you had a short shelf life and we were managing your product, I would just maybe come to an agreement or like help me understand what the waste could look like. Is it like a
Mhm.
significant volume, or how much? They might have a process already in place for that if they're like a perishable brand. They
Okay.
might just have like a certain fee that rolls in, or they might just work with you as need or as as needed. Like they might take a picture of it and say, "Hey, can we bill you back, or
Mhm.
can we just discard it?" So if whatever process works best for you, like I would think about that and say, "Hey, we have potential shrink or potential spoilage. Like what would
Mhm.
work best? This would work best for me. I would like to do it this way," and see what they say.
Okay.
But I mainly worked with like really long shelf life
Yeah.
product.
Yep.
So I wouldn't be the best to ask, but if I was in that mindset, I would try to come to the distributor with the best solution that you have in mind, and
Mhm.
then see if they can work with you on that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That's all I had. Thank you.
I'll just
Yeah, of course.
chime in real quick about the formulation or the product side. There are some potential solutions you could look at on using emulsifiers like natural preservatives and softeners to extend the shelf life slightly,
Mhm.
just to make it, I think, market competitive if you have a shorter shelf life than your competitors currently. Just because
Mhm.
have your own store, it doesn't need to last more than 2 days, but
Right.
for example, if you pick up Latour spread and it lasts maybe a week and then we want to just match,
Right.
would be some formulation changes to
Yeah.
reach out to some like enzyme and dough softener suppliers, things like that.
Mhm.
What
Mhm.
you're okay with working with. Um,
Okay.
yeah, so we do have a couple more questions. If I think, let me just take a look. Um, and we are at the end of our hour, and like we mentioned, feel free to reach out to Ali directly. Um, I do want to address. Okay, yeah. Allison had put up the slide for Chris's question about some things to maximize effectiveness for partnerships. And again, I think it's very much case by case basis for your experience with a certain distributor. I think there was a question from Khaleesi about sustainability practices. I'm not sure where it is now. Uh,
I just wanted to I want to double click on Chris's question too. Um, I know it's like a general comment, like you said, most of my peers in the industry have a less favorable view of distributors. That's not uncommon. Like distributors can be very challenging, because it's just an added complexity. And like I said, their goal is to get your product at the right time and to the right place and the right condition. And sometimes they fail on all three. But like, and that can be so frustrating. But the distributor, they're not trying to do that. They might be dealing with some issues. Um, every distributor has issues and challenges. It's not a perfect system. So most in my experience, the biggest frustration comes from it's just an imperfect system, but doesn't mean it's not valuable. So being specific of like, um, if there is like something that you're hearing from your peers that very, very much worries you, or that you're concerned about, like that's something you could take note and bring to a discussion when you're looking for one. Like, hey, I'm worried about getting my product like misshipped or destroyed. Like, what are you guys doing to prevent that or working towards that in the future? And I would totally welcome that if I was a distributor and hearing that complaint. I would say, this is what I could do. This is what we can do together. So yeah, I don't, it's not an uncommon feedback.
Thanks for the feedback. It sounds like I just need to really make sure that we're maintaining the relationship and keeping it an active partnership rather than you take care of this and I'll take care of this.
Totally. Yeah. I used to love working with the brands and checking in like every like once a month, even too, if it was a brand new partnership, I'd say like, let's check in on this or come up with a really good plan and then work with them together and then taper it off, like start strong and then kind of taper off that support. I think that's what I've seen has worked really well.
Can I ask you one follow-up? I operate a brew pub, a brewery, so we're distributing craft beer.
Nice.
Um, some of the other people that I talk to in my industry, they advocate for hiring a full-time salesperson that will interface with the distributor and get out there to the stores. Do you think that's the best use of resources, or is it something that I should make time in my schedule for?
Oh, it's such a good question. I think that's great feedback. I also think as tough as it is, like it might be good to just learn at the beginning stage yourself and then just know the ins and outs of that relationship. And then when you hire someone, it's more specific to that partnership. Like, for example, does the sales and marketing or salesperson need to be like helping them order or helping them merchandise? Like maybe it's a specialty that the distributor doesn't do that you need that person to be hired for. Like it could be marketing or it could be something specific to fill the gap of what that distributor isn't doing, like, or needs extra support on.
Thank you for all this information. It's super helpful. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. I think with that, that will be the end of our session today. Again, feel free to reach out to us at vapdc@hawaii.edu with any questions for our center, any feedback, as well as reaching out directly to Allison for follow-up questions. My colleague Kelsey dropped in some future upcoming workshops and classes we have coming up. Farm to Retail Bootcamp on baked goods at the end of the month. Hands-on workshop for June will be on Limu. We have a product development bootcamp that will be delivered through Zoom in June, as well as our monthly market day here in person. It's our Wahiawa Farmers Market. So please do come by and check it out. If you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out. Mahalo for joining us today, and hope you have a good rest of your week. Thank you.
Thank you.